Hi everyone, my name is Sanjeev. In this video, I will demo how to integrate OneDrive using MuleSoft OneDrive connector. I will start the demo right away without wasting any time. I have created a Mule application. It will upload a file, customers file from my local directory to the OneDrive folder. So let me go to the office.com. I have taken the Microsoft Office business subscription because MuleSoft OneDrive connector requires business subscription, Microsoft Office business subscription, office.com. I will log in, enter password. I will go to the Microsoft Authenticator app in my mobile and I will enter the code. I have entered the code and logged in. Now from here, I will go to the app launcher. I will go to OneDrive. This is OneDrive. Now I will go to my files. Here I have created a folder mule underscore files and I will upload the files here. So this MuleSoft application will read this file, customers file, and it will upload here. Under my files, then mule files. Here I will upload the files. Now let's go back to Anypoint Studio. Here I have added this Microsoft OneDrive connector. Going to the Exchange. From here you can search the OneDrive connector and you can edit. That's what I have already added it. Here I will use the create drive item operation and then I will upload the content. So first we need to create a file here, and then in second operation I will upload the content. It does not work like a file write operation where you can create the file and upload the content using same write operation. Unlike the file connector in the OneDrive connector, we have to first create the file here in OneDrive and then we get back the item ID, file item ID. We have to use that file item ID and we have to then upload the content using this ID. So before I can describe further this application, I have to register a application in Azure directory. So I will go to the Azure portal, portal.azure.com. So here I will go to the app registrations. So you can click new registration. Here we can give a application name, OneDrive app 4. Here we can have the default option selected. In redirect URI, I have to select BAB and here we have to give a redirect URI. So http colon slash slash local host 8005 slash redirect. We can change to 8085 slash redirect. Click register. So we got the client ID. We will use this client ID. Now we need to create a secret. So I will go to here, client credential, new client secret. I will give a description. Client secret for OneDrive app. Click add. So we got the value here. You need to copy this value because we will use this as a client secret. We can save it here. So now we have a client ID, we have client secret here, this one. We have a client ID and then tenant name is here. Now I have to add permissions. Here I will click add permission, Microsoft Graph. I will add delegated permission. I will go to the files, files, and I will add files read write all. This permission, add permission. Permission has been added. Now I will add one more permission. This is for application permission. I will use in client credential. I will go to files, files read write all, add permission. So I have added two permission, one delegated, another for type application. Now I will grant the admin consent for self-learn. So I have granted the consent. Consent has been granted to self-learn. Let's go to the overview. Now I have all the permissions. I have secret, I have client ID, and for endpoint, we can get the endpoint from here. This is authorization endpoint B2. This is the tenant ID here, and then rest actually is the URI, and here is the token URL, token endpoint. We will use these two as well. So I have application OneDrive app 1. I have already configured this in my Mule application. Here, let me go to the connector configuration. In this application, I'm going to use authorization code grant type. This is a base URI for calling graph MuleSoft.com endpoints, APIs, and this is the customer ID. So this customer ID I have got when I created this application, OneDrive app 1. Okay, this is the client ID I'm going to use, and tenant ID is this one. This is tenant ID. Secret is right here. I have already copied this secret, and you can grab the endpoints, authorization, and the token directly from here, and that's what I copied here. So we have a token URL and authorization URL here, token URL here, and then a scope. We have to provide this scope https colon graph.microsoft.com, and this is the file read write all. This is the scope we have to send. when we are calling this authorization code grant type, we are authenticating, we are authorizing, we have to pass this. This is the scope we need to pass. So we have to configure a few more things, callback configuration also. So here I have created a HTTPS configuration. It listens on 8085, and here I have provided callback redirect and slash authorization for authorization path. And here we have to provide external callback URI, external callback URL, and this is I have created when I registered the application in Azure AD. So right here, this is the external callback URI. This is what I'm providing here. So first we will authorize the application by calling this endpoint that is listening on 8085, and then I will call the operation. So all these operations that I'm using here in this demo are using same configuration that I just described. Here also in upload content, same configuration I'm using. Now I will go in more detail. So create a drive, also need a drive ID right here. We need drive ID in all operations. So this create item needs drive ID. Similarly, upload content also need drive ID. And this create drive also need a parent drive item ID. Once we configure these two values, drive here and drive parent drive ID here, we only need to provide then the drive item name that is the same as customers.json. So we are going to create the customer.json file right here, and it will be created inside mule files. In this upload content, again we need a same drive ID, and we also need the file ID. File ID is the item ID of the files that we are going to create. So we are going to create this customer.json file. Once we invoke this operation, this endpoint, create file, it will call this operation. It will create the file under this parent, this folder, and the name of the file would be customers.json. And in the response, we will get back the item ID of this file. So it will create the file here, right here. And in the response in the Postman, we will get the file ID, item ID. And that item ID we have to configure here. So that means instead of giving the name, file name, we have to give the file ID, item ID of that file, and that's where this payload will be uploaded. For payload, I am reading the customers file from the location that I showed you. This is the location. This is the location. So we are reading from input directory. And that payload we are putting in this file ID. That is nothing but the file ID of the customer.json file. That's what I am doing here. We also need to provide a size of the file. that we are calculating this way, size of the payload dot caret raw. So we are providing size, how much size we need to upload. So that is all. Let me show you the endpoint of these both. This is upload file I'm going to call, but before I will call the create file here. So let me recap. First I registered the Azure application here. I showed you how to register the application using app registration, create new registration. I showed you how to create that, and you have to create a secret. You should also have created the redirect URI, and then you add the permission. Once you have that, you come here and you configure the connector configuration and put the customer ID, customer secret, authorization URL, access token URL, and scope. You have to put the this is scope, https graph.microsoft.com files read write all. That is the scope you need to pass. And this these endpoints you can get it actually from here. Overview, endpoints, and here are the authorization. Here is the token endpoints. You can put it here, and here we configure the callback path, authorization path, and here you provide external URL that we actually put it actually here and redirect URI, this one. So once this is configured, we are all set for authorization code, run type, and then we need to pass the drive ID in these both operations, create drive item and upload content. This drive ID is a ID of the drive, OneDrive that we have here. So drive ID of this drive that we have, where we have created this folder. Now I will show you how to get these values, drive ID and the parent drive item ID. So for that, either we need to invoke the Microsoft Graph API from the Postman, or we can go to the Graph Explorer and we will get that drive ID and the parent drive item ID for that folder using Graph Explorer. So I copy that URL, Graph Explorer URL. I will go to new tab, enter the endpoint, and this is our Graph Explorer. I will go to the OneDrive section. Here I will click list item in my drive. So this is the URL that we are going to run. Here I have already logged in. So if I'm not logged in, you have to log in, because when I was logged into office.com, because of that I'm already logged in. So I got single sign-on to this Graph Explorer as well. Now this Microsoft Graph API are two types. For the once you logged in, you can run this /me/drive, those kind of APIs, or there is a different kind of API where you can have users and you can pass the user ID and you can run the rest of the URI. Those you can run using Postman. Here, because we logged in, so we can use this kind of URI where we have /me. So I'm going to click here, run query. I will run this query. This will return the information about my drive and its children. So this is the response we got. So here is the value. So first we got app. So we have here two folders, apps and mule files. So this is right here, detail about apps. This is the parent reference. This is a drive ID. So the parent of apps is a drive, and this is a drive ID. Similarly, there is another element that is describe the mule files. So we have another folder here. I can close this tab. Here I have mule files. That's why I got this detail regarding mule files. So here is the drive ID, parent drive detail. So drive ID for both apps and mule files are same. So I can copy from any place. I copy it from here, and this is what I should be having here, right here. So it is same. I can copy again, but it is same already. Now I need the parent item ID. That is actually item ID for the file, that is mule files folder. So let's search that as well. So this is the mule files name of the folder, and this is the ID. So this is the ID we are using for parent drive item ID. This one I can copy again, but it's same already. So that means I'm creating a file customers.json inside this drive item ID, that is a muse file. When I will run this, it will create this file. But this operation does not put any content. I just create empty file. Then the response of this call, when we call this create file, it will return the file ID of this customer.json. We'll grab that, and that we will actually insert here. So we are going to upload the payload from here, customer.json, and then we will put actually in this file ID. That is nothing but the customer.json that we are going to create here. Let me run this. I'm running the application. So application has been started. Let me clean the console. Now I will go to the Postman and I will run that create file URL. Let me send the request. Okay, before I can invoke this URL, I have to authenticate. So I need to call this URL from browser. So I will go to the browser here, and I will call this authorize URL. So right now there is no file here. I can refresh it. There is no file under muse file. And when I will run that operation, first authorize and then create file, it will create a file here, right here. So first I need to authorize. So let me go to the browser, and here I need to call this authorize method. This authorize method, I'm invoking this one right here. If you go to config, I'm invoking this authorize method, and it's listening on 8085 on localhost. So I'm going to invoke. This will get the authorization code. So this is the code we got. Successfully retrieved access token. So this method will got the code, and then in second step it got the token, and token got saved inside the object store. We haven't specified any object store, but we can specify object store if you want. But by default it will store in default object store. So token got already saved in default store. The authorization dance has been completed because of this operation. Now we can invoke the method, the create file method. We invoke the method. So this should have created the file. We got the file customer.json, and this file should not have any content. There is no content right now, it's empty. But now the we should have the file ID in the response for this file. So we'll grab that file ID. So this is the customer.json file got created, and this is the ID. Need to grab this ID. So it create first time. We invoke this operation many time, or we invoke the update content, this ID would remain same now, but it will create only first time when created the file actually on the OneDrive. So I will go here and go to the upload content, and I have to change this file ID because we created a new file. So file ID should have changed. You have got new file ID. Now I have to stop the application and run it again because our file ID is newly created. Once this application up and running, we will invoke this endpoint, upload file. Here I am reading the file customer.json, and we will upload this content there. Right now the file is empty, nothing is there. So application has been started. I will go to the postman, and here I will invoke upload file. We got the response. We uploaded this file, and let's go to the OneDrive, refresh it, go to the customer.json. We got the content. So we have loaded the content from local file and put it actually in OneDrive. So this is how actually we can create a file, then upload the content in two step, but we can merge these two steps in one. So here I have created new flow. Right here, create and upload. Here I'm first creating the file customer.json, and then we will get back the response. In that response I'm reading the ID, file ID, item ID, and putting in this variable. I don't need rest of the response payload, only I need file ID. I'm using that file ID here to pass the file ID for this operation, upload content. So this will upload this payload to this file ID customer.json. Here I'm reading same file customer.json. So let's go to the file and add some more content here. To and Todd, save it. Now I will go to the Postman and run the create and upload file. So that is the endpoint path that I provide for this. Here I am creating the file. If it is already there, it will return the file ID. If it is not there, it will create it. And then I'm reading the file and putting actually content here in one call only, in one step. So let me go to the Postman. I will invoke this endpoint. We got the response. There is no error. So here I will go to the OneDrive. I refresh it. So we got updated content. That's what we added here. So we have same payload in OneDrive. Okay. Now here in this application, I'm using authorization code grant type. Now I will demo the same functionality using client credential grant type. It's a same endpoint, same path here. I'm doing the same thing here. My parent ID is same because I'm putting actually file in Muse file folder. Drive is also same. I'm reading the here products file and here in this step I'm getting the response. I'm grabbing from response the item ID and putting actually in variable, and that's what actually passing here. So right now there is a no products.json file here and we have product.json file here, and I will upload this using client credential. Let me show you the configuration for client credential. This URL is default. We are using graph.microsoft.com/b1.0. Here the client ID, client secret, that we have seen that it is same. Token URL, we got it actually from the Azure portal, from overview, endpoints tab. And is for scope, we need to pass different scope here. We need to pass this scope, graph.microsoft.com/.default. So this is the scope we need to provide. That's all. We don't have to configure anything. Token will be stored in object store. The scope is a little different. Let me show you again the scope for the authorization code grant type that we are passing. So we are passing scope in this case, this one, /files dot read write dot all. This is the scope we are passing, and we have to configure all these other things as well. The callback configuration, callback path authorization, and external callback code, because it's a two-step process. First we need to get the code, authorization code, and then token. The authorization dance happens, but in case of client credential we are getting actually in one call only. We don't have to provide those URLs. We are only providing a token URL. So internally it will call token URL, and this is the scope we are passing. We'll get the token and it will run the endpoint after authorization. It will send the token and API in next call and will get the result. So here we need no need to call that authorize endpoint, and no need to do the authorization dance in a by separate call. Here in each API call, and we call this API, it internally calls that token URL and get the token directly. So I will run this application, and I will upload the product.json here using client credential grant type. So this is more suit for application to application communication where there is no user interaction required. Let me clear the console and I will run this endpoint from Postman. Okay, everything looks good. So we have created this product.json and uploaded the content. Let's go to the OneDrive. We got this file and we got the content. It is same like that we have here. So we read the content from the local drive and we put it actually inside OneDrive Muse files folder. So here I use the client credential grant type. In first demo I use the authorization code grant type. I showed you in detail how to upload the file. First create the file and then upload the content, and here you can do in both step. In one step you create the file and then get the file ID, item ID, and use that item ID and upload the content. I showed you how to use authorization code grant type and how to use client credential grant type. So this is all in this video. If you like this video, click the like button and subscribe the channel. Thanks for watching. Thank you very much.